about this. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm not a racist, and I smile when I say that, because I have a lot of associations with people from Africa, people from Cameroon specifically. And, you know, I can say this because, well, the people that knows me knows that I'm not a racist. This isn't about racism. And you've got to protect yourself by saying that whenever you talk about these matters. But this Black Lives Matter protest was in the height of the COVID pandemic, when each and every one of us were told that we couldn't visit our parents, when we couldn't visit people in nursing homes, when we had to stay at home. In a lot of cases, people were left in their houses alone with no contact from their families. And yet these people, they decided that they would say, up yours, we're going to protest because of something that happened in America. Now, they got an apology last week from the PSNI, and we're going to hear that. They got an apology, and the police have apologized for going and handing out fines and tackling them. And at the end of the day, they weren't like the rest of us. Each and every one of us were following the COVID guidelines at the time. But yet these people, they decided that they would break them. And yet, seemingly, the PSNI and the Public Prosecution Service, they've given them a clean bill of health, as if nothing was wrong and as if they'd done nothing wrong. Now, I want you to contrast that against what it is that we're going to be talking about to this young man whenever we bring him on this screen. Because this young man will tell you why that it was that he went to the Belfast City Hall. He will tell you when that he went to the Belfast City Hall. He will tell you also where he ended up as a result of going to the Belfast City Hall and how long that he ended up there for. And he'll also tell you about the things that are still going on to this day as a result. So I'm just about to play another video, and then we're going to pop Stephen up onto your screen.
Lives Matter rallies in Belfast and Londonderry last year will not face prosecution for breaking regulations on public gatherings during lockdown. It's been decided they've no case to answer, as the demonstrations were peaceful and were organised in a way which sought to minimise the risk of spreading coronavirus. The police have once again apologised for how they handled things.
Now, just remember that the police have apologised to the Black Lives Matter protesters for how that it was that they handled things. And if you heard Matt Power there just a few moments ago, well, he was saying that the police couldn't actually demonstrate that they actually did pass any restrictions on the Bobby Story funeral. And I thought it was right and correct that we bring Stephen on our screen just to explain a completely different set of circumstances. Now, I want you to listen to the rest of this video, and I'm going to stop it again whenever you see like a summary of why that it was that the PPS came to the conclusion that they did.
Our Home Affairs correspondent, Julian O'Neill, has more.
Two oversight reports had already questioned the policing operation last June, even its very legality, by ignoring a person's right to peaceful protest. So today's decision not to press charges was a likely outcome, and one which was greeted as a victory by those under investigation.
The decision today not to prosecute is a massive weight off of our shoulders. It is now, tomorrow it'll be a year carrying that weight.
The way we were treated by the police was unfair, it was discriminatory. We were treated differently from all other settled communities, and what today's judgment or ruling by the PPS is basically saying we were right all along.
It traumatized me and it traumatized my children, and I'll be very happy today to actually have a new discussion with them and just show them, the letter to say, I'm finally free.
Explaining their decision, the Public Prosecution Service found fault in the regulations, which they said lacked clarity. Furthermore, the protests were organised mindful of health advice. In conclusion, these 14 individuals were seeking to safely exercise their right to freedom of peaceful assembly and expression on an important social issue, and there is no prospect of conviction.
So what you'll have seen there is that there was 14 individuals that were organisers of the Black Lives Matter protest. Bobby Story's funeral aside, and it was their absolute right, is what the PPS had came to. They came to the conclusion it was their right to do what it was that they should do, because they were protesting on a very important social issue. So what I would like to do at this point now, I'm just going to get rid of this video. Bear with me for a second. I've that much on the screen. You got to excuse me this evening. Stephen, welcome to your screen. And I would just like to, again, I've set the, thanks for coming along. I've set the context. I've told people that last year you were arrested, you were along protesting about something. If we could just ask you a question, Stephen. I mean, tell the people, tell the live chat what it was that you were actually protesting for, or maybe not protesting. Set the context. Why were you at Belfast City Hall last year, and exactly when was it last year?
Well, it was on Thursday night, the 5th of November last year. The night before, I had been contacted by a friend who was having some mental health problems themselves. Invited me into town basically for a chat, and that was okay. So I went into town the following night. When I arrived, there was 2 women sat at the City Hall. They explained to me that there was a candlelit vigil that was happening. So that was okay. As more people started to gather, to see what was happening. At that stage, there was only 7 or 8 people there. And one of them had come to me and asked what was going on. So I had explained what the 2 ladies had said to me. He asked who the organizer was. And I just told him straight, nobody organised it, because I wasn't aware of any organizer. So as the night progressed, everything was peaceful, everything was quiet. Even at one point, there was an ex-policeman who had turned to an alcoholic, had passed us, and I'd spent 15 minutes talking with him. Almost stopped him getting knocked down by a bus. But there was a period of maybe 47 to 15 minutes had passed. Everything peaceful, not a problem. I had made an announcement for people to leave. You know, that was it, done, time to go. As people had started dispersing, the police had come over and started reading out regulations to each and every one that was about. But at no point did they come to me to explain anything about the regulations. As the night progressed, there was probably another 25 minutes had passed with the police terrorizing people, as I would call it, trying to force their opinions upon people. So I had spoke to 2 of the officers around about 7:30 on the night. Now this was an hour after I initially arrived.
Stephen,
I spoke to 2 officers and asked could I have one more chance to ask people to leave the area, as there was only about 9 or 10 people there, and they had agreed.
I'm going to have to ask you to keep it brief. I'll tell you why. The internet connection is really that bad, and I want people to hear what you're saying. So again, I'll ask you questions and give us some short answers for it, because the internet's really, really bad on your side there. Okay, so look, the thing is that, you know, you were there, you were at a vigil. The vigil was for suicide. I mean, the suicide rates were going up in around the time. I mean, you sent me some information today, and you showed me that there was a huge increase in the suicide rates from before lockdown occurred, and then after lockdown, the suicide rate seemed to have just went through the roof and continues to go that way. So as a concerned citizen, along with other concerned citizens, you attended a vigil at the Belfast City Hall. Now, would you just like to tell me, without getting into it's because the internet connection is really that bad, would you just like to tell me, you were then arrested, right? You were arrested, you were taken to Maghaberry, and don't worry about the whys and the wherefores with the policeman or anything else, but tell the people what happened to you as a result of that. When did you go to Maghaberry? When were you let out of Maghaberry, and what is happening now?
Well, basically, went into Maghaberry. It was in 12 days. I wasn't able to contact any legal advice to act on my behalf and give a care-off address. So when I'd get out the process of going through court, basically I was being coerced into a guilty plea. In my opinion, that's how I seen it, as I'd done nothing wrong.
Your internet's good again, by the way. So go on, yeah. The internet's good again. Cool.
So as time went on, 2 weeks ago, I was up in court, supposed to be the final day. The barrister had explained to me outside things that were going to be said, and I disagreed, basically, and just explained I'm not going in under those terms and conditions. I'm not guilty of committing any crimes, nor have I done anything wrong. So it went into court, and it was explained that I'm seeking new legal advice, and I had relieved those of their duties. I just needed to speak to someone on the level about things. So I've made contact with someone to seek a consultation. I've got the primary disclosure files here. I have their notebooks, I have their statements, and there's a lot of unfamiliarity in their statements as to what pertained to me, let's say. So I basically want to fight it and take it to the point where they have to answer questions that does not match their statements. They try to do me with a regulation. Now, there's a talk on that video about the Black Lives Matter protesters that, or even the Bobby Story funeral, that they couldn't have possibly understood the regulations that they set in place. So the regulation that they tried to do me with was Regulation 6, or that they're trying to do me with was Regulation 6. On the night, they were telling me Regulation 5. The police were walking about telling everybody about Regulation 5, which had been revoked in July of 2020, 3 months previous to the night of my arrest.
What is Regulation 6, Stephen?
Well, Regulation 6 pertains to gatherings, reasonable excuses for being out. Now, in my belief, I was out that night to attend to a vulnerable person. That's why I was there. Yeah. The reasons for other things happening were none of my problem, none of my doings. I'd spent time talking to 2 policemen, 10, 15 minutes, who had shook my bare hand and told me that I was a good speaker. And that was all in the process before I got arrested. So now I want all their evidence. There is apparently a lot of evidence against me in footage, body-worn video footage. So what I did was I drafted up a letter and sent it in to ask them for all the prosecution's files, but there was just something wrong. They haven't sent me it. I've done it by recorded delivery too. Yeah,
Stephen, could I just say something? What you would have seen at the end of that video last week that was on UTV, you'll see that the PPS have said that Black Lives Matter had absolutely every right to go and protest. The reason why they had to get it, because they say that it was an important social issue, even though I would argue against that, because that was something that happened in America, not here, and that didn't affect us. In fact, that could have affected us if that had turned into race war the way that it did in London, the way that it did also in the Irish Republic, because I seen it happening in the Irish Republic, that there was race war which ensued after that, and there was people getting beat up and whatnot. And really, I think that the PSNI should have been moving to stop that and to ensure that that didn't happen, because we didn't have that problem. We didn't want to import that problem. And why should we import that problem? That's how I seen that. But the goodness in all of this is that I'm going to say to you now, if I were you, right, and I know that you're sort of fighting it, I know you're I've sat and I've listened to you speaking, you know your stuff okay, I'm going to say that you will beat that, and you'll beat that quite simply, because they'll now have to withdraw. And I'm going to tell you the reason why that you will beat it is because they let Sinn Féin IRA off. That's because they have a hierarchy of rights, and they wouldn't dare prosecute them. Then they had to let the Black Lives Matter people off, right? Even though they give them fines. Now, I would have said that they would have been let off anyway. But because they've done that, they now will have to let you off. And you know something, I'm sure that the stress and the strain and the problems that it's caused within your family and everything else has been harsh for you. You know, unbelievable. Stephen, would you also, again, just before that, you know, again, we're moving on with a lot of other stuff here, right? So could you stand up and show people the t-shirt that you're wearing? And I thought Stephen's t-shirt was very good this evening. There you are. If you'd like to leave your messages on the live chat there for Stephen and his choice of t-shirt, because I thought that his choice of t-shirt was very, very good. EU out of Ulster. And that's the reality, because listen, we're not an EU vassal. We're not an EU vassal. Just because the Republic of Ireland is a vassal of the EU, and the EU have to say, they say jump, and the Irish Republic have to say hi, because they're that way, doesn't mean to say that we should be also. So look, I mean, there's some stuff on the live chat there, Stephen. Well done, Stephen. They're loving your t-shirt. Absolutely brilliant t-shirt, Stephen. You know, cracker, Stephen.
Listen, John, it's a common goal all across this country. You know, we've all lived here for 100 years, and for anything to stop it and try and stop us coming together as one people, John. I'm all about our species.
Yeah.
And that's why
Stephen,
I stand grounds. I'm trying to show
if
people.
I could just, and I'm just going to say here, and this is for this is for the people that are here to watch, and also the people that will come in the future. But Stephen does a lot of cross-community work, and he's been working with people, no matter whether Catholics or nationalists or whatever. You know, I mean, he doesn't. There's no orange or green barriers with Stephen, even though Stephen originally came from the Shankill area. I mean, I was a friend of Stephen's dad's, and I knew Stephen's dad from many years ago. He's a good young lad there. And as I say, this is the question. This is the real question. This is what people have to answer in their own minds. And this is something that, you know, I hope to take up with politicians, is that, you know, why is it that some people have a hierarchy of rights in our country? Why is it that if you can threaten violence, that you will get that hierarchy of rights? And why is it that those that you know, that love their country, that want to see the best for people, that want to see equality, but real equality, not the type that some people are more equal than others, and that's what we titled this screen, but not that type of equality, you know, the type of equality that everybody is equal under and subject to exactly the same law, and that's the way things should be. Stephen, I want to thank you for coming on the screen. You know, and I would say to the live chat, if you leave Stephen some messages of support for the way that he finds himself. And Stephen, I want you to come back whenever you know more about your case and tell us whenever they have withdrawn your charges, because I mean, that should be done. That absolutely should be done. And thank you.
Great.
And Stephen, if you'd just like to say your goodbyes there to the live chat, and then we'll move on, but stick with our screen, because we're moving on with some other things, and we wouldn't want to get you involved in some of the things that we're about to do now. But if you would just like to address the live chat, and go ahead, Stephen, over to you.
Thank you all for joining in and listening to my story. There is more to be heard and to go on, and I'm sure another contest may be coming up soon, so if anyone wants to come and support me at the courts, as we're all out of lockdown again, you're more than welcome.
Good stuff. And one more thing before you go, Stephen, but we do ask people this whenever they come on our screen. But look, I mean, the name of this channel is Restore. And, you know, I'm going to say restore the right of the people of Northern Ireland to be full members of the United Kingdom, not the type that is separated from England and Scotland and Wales, and restore the right of the British people here in Northern Ireland to not be treated as second-class citizens and not to be discriminated against. Stephen, if there was anything that you would like to restore, what is it that you would like to restore today in 2021?
I would like to restore the faith in the people that we are one species, and together we can make this planet better.
Yeah. And by saying that, Stephen, means that, you know, all of this division in terms of, you know, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, this identity politics that is doing the rounds, I think that's exactly what he's referring to. I mean, we shouldn't be divided by people with vested interest in keeping us divided. Stephen, I really appreciate that. Thanks very much for coming on. Stick with the screen, because we're going to be going on here. We're going to be talking about a few things.
Okay.
And as I say, you're going to need the help of the politicians, but we don't want you getting on the wrong side of them after we've maybe, I'm not going to say attacked them, but after we've pointed out some of the inactions that is actually taking place. So thanks very much, Stephen, for coming along.
Problem,
And we'll see you soon.